share what the records are. And there's so many ways that people describe them, which is really cool. So the Akashic Records are the electromagnetic imprint of everything that's ever happened in the universe. So that definition is from the Hungarian philosopher of science, Ervin Laszlo. And what he's saying there is that the universe itself has an information field where the imprint, the atoms, the energy of everything that's ever existed in the universe is stored. You can access that. We can channel that, right? So energy, atoms, they can't be destroyed. They transform into something else. So what's really exciting about that is this universal information field, the Akashic realm, is something that everybody can access. Everybody has the ability to access it. It takes practice. It takes practice. And ideally, because the information is very clean, it's very clear. And if you think of us, our bodies, we are conduits, we are channels of energy and electricity. So the clearer and cleaner and open, the more open that we are, and just with practice, you can receive information from the records. People do it all the time, right? Not even knowing that they're doing it. So the way that I learned how to do it is with intention, with an opening prayer and a closing prayer. So my teacher, Christina Cross, her teacher is Linda Howe, and Linda Howe channeled an opening prayer and a closing prayer where the words, the vibrations of the words are requesting access to the records in a very specific way, right? So for today, you'll hear me say the opening prayer. So some of it is said out loud and some of it is said quietly to myself. And then I say the records are now open, and the records are open in whatever we're opening in. And for today, we're going to be opening the records on the collective of humanity and asking questions around the collective. And so you'll hear that in the opening prayer. And again, some of it I'll be saying it quietly to myself. And then when we're in the records, Heidi and Farishta can ask any question they want in regards to the collective of humanity, and I'll be channeling and receiving information from the records, answering those questions. A really wonderful way that I like to express how the Akashic Records communicate with us is like a picture is worth 1,000 words. And the Akashic Records speak to us from the consciousness of the soul, from the soul's perspective. And it's the highest perspective of you and everyone connected to you. So it's our light and our dark, our shadow and our light in perfect balance. So we're never going to hear anything that we're not ready to hear, and we're never going to hear anything harmful. Okay. And the records have this creatively intelligent way of knowing who's going to hear the information. And so it meets us exactly where we're at in our consciousness. So anybody that hears this information that's being channeled, it's going to reach you, and you're going to understand it, basically. So that's what's really cool and exciting. And I think maybe it's just better to jump in and see what it looks like to open the records and have a reading. But that's the general explanation of what they are. Okay. So if there are no further questions between Heidi and Farishta, I'll just jump in and open. Okay. So this is how it goes. So just be patient while I'm being quiet. Okay. So we're going to open on the collective of humanity. Okay. So this is the opening prayer. And so we do acknowledge the forces of light, asking for guidance, direction, and courage to know the truth as it is revealed for our highest good and the highest good of everyone connected to us. O Holy Spirit of God, help me to know the collective of humanity in the light of the Akashic Records, to see the collective of humanity through the eyes of the Lords of the Records, and enable me to share the wisdom and compassion that the masters, teachers, and loved ones of the collective of humanity have for it. The records are now open. So what's interesting is in opening the records and even saying the prayer, sometimes I'll already start receiving information. I call it it's an opening message or an opening visual. And that was coming through really clearly. And I want to just share the first thing that came through. So the collective of humanity, they're showing like the silhouette of a person, like a profile. And above the crown, this is our wisdom, our crown chakra. This is our connection to the divine, to God, to everything up there. And what's interesting is, if we're going by chakra colors, they were showing me this as red. It shouldn't be red. Red is your root. Red's down there. And they're explaining a couple of things, that the collective is both fearing of God, fearing of the divine because of what's happening in the world, but also angry. And what I'm getting from that is almost like a people. It's not the divine. This is people. So I'm getting very much a like, humble yourselves. What's happening in the world is people. Has nothing to do with God. It has nothing to do with the divine. They're actually saying these are the lower vibrational experiences of humanity. It has nothing to do with anything sacred. So we're starting there. But I invite you to go wherever you'd like. But that was the very, very big opening visual.
Well, how poignant and telling. So telling, at this time. And I want to say, if I can comment about that, just my 2 cents is that energetically, what I have felt is the overall fear of humanity. And when that is what is most pervasive and obvious and on the surface, that is when we're going to be in our most pain and less clear and foggy and all the other adjectives that we can think of. And so and it's also not hard to change that energy, right? It's not hard to change. It's not hard. It's a choice. Mm-hmm. It's really as simple as acknowledging that, okay, so I'm scared right now, and I can also choose love, because the opposite of fear is love. And by going within, that's where I feel safest. That's where most people connect to themselves and feel safest. So if you're out here and you're feeling scared, fear, the collective fear of the world, like we've talked about on this podcast today, the hunkering down, the nurturing, the going within, the seeds that we're planting, the earth, the grounding, all of it. It's in so many words, it's all we're saying the same thing over and over and over. It's important to be mindful about that. Because we can, if we want to, we can all collectively get to that place. But I am feeling the collective fear of humanity. That's just simply where we are right now. And for those that are listening, I want to encourage you, if you want to get out of that space, is the word choiceful, is to make a choice. I'm going to make up the word choiceful. Be choiceful, make a choice, and say, I'm going to do this differently. I'm going to love. I'm going to come from a place of love.
Yeah. They're confirming what you're saying about going within. and they immediately showed, okay, so someone comes and sits, and it's like taking responsibility for yourself, like someone sitting in meditation or just sitting with themselves, and the going within, it went like this, and then boom, like a huge, like almost like a wow, white light goes right
Yep.
back up, and it clears it right. It's going to clear the fear. It's going to, the second you go in, you go boom, right up. And then your connection is like really, I mean, it's almost got like a vibration. It's like a lightsaber.
Yeah.
Like you become this lightsaber when you go in. So,
Yeah.
and I'm getting like massive confirmation in what you're saying.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah. And I think I'm holding this place of, there's human spirit and there's human animal, right? So I'm feeling a lot of tenderness and compassion, being like, oh, so many people are in their scared animal. Okay. Of course. This has been a really trying few years, for many a trying lifetime. And I think I'm aware, knowing where I was in my 20s and of being really victimy and in that place, that I actually needed to lean on the resilience of others. I didn't have it, I couldn't dig it up in me. I hadn't yet practiced it. So there was a little bit of being guided to how to connect with myself. So just wanting to name that too before we ask our questions. Like if you don't know how and you're stuck, if you can at least observe that you're stuck, get support.
And as you were mentioning scared animal, they were actually showing like the big bad wolf, like in a fairy tale, terrified. So they're actually saying like even the strongest, scariest, like meanest, baddest characters you think in the world, they're scared. So whether they're showing that or not, or acting out, etc. When you said scared animal, they showed like the big bad wolf, like shaking like a little scared animal.
And I'm going to equate that to the most powerful leaders of the world. I'm just really feeling that intuitively. Okay, so I have my question ready. Is that okay? Can I start? Okay. So I'm curious to know, what question can people ask themselves in 2020 that would support them in the new year to be better versions of themselves?
What am I responsible for? Where can I take responsibility for myself? Who am I responsible for? And that answer is answered very quickly. They said, me. You're responsible for yourself. What other questions? They're saying, where can I grow? They're showing like tending a garden. So after asking those questions about responsibility, from there, the next question is, where can I grow? And growing is like expand. They're saying it's not like a grow, like a work hard. It's like, where can I expand and take up space in the world? Where do I feel big? Where do I feel my spirit? Where do I take up space? Where do I feel expansive? Because they're kind of saying like, that's where you need to be right now. You need to be where you feel big. You don't need to be where you're feeling contracted and conflicted and constricted and tiny and small. So there's a little bit of a step by step with that. They're saying there's an invitation to go where you grow.
And so I have so many things coming to me right now. It's exciting. So as this idea of and truth of perpetual change and growth, what I want to, if I'm going to just add a little bit to what you just shared there, Lindsay, which is in order, in order for us to move into another, like a higher dimension, the fifth dimension at this point, because we're 3D beings, some of us are 2D beings, but 3D beings living in this world. Um, and in order to move into, we are going to expand. And there's going to be some fear around that expansion. There's always fear around expansion as we grow. And as you said, the first step is to be aware of it, like to know that, okay, I'm experiencing all this, and oh my God, it feels so scary. And what do I do with it? And what does it mean? And all that. And it, whatever the answers are to that doesn't really matter. What matters and what's most important for us spiritually as we grow is that we take note, like you said, be aware and take note of these things. And then because once you know, once you can see what's happening, you can't go back. Like once we start growing emotionally and spiritually, there's no going back. We can only move forward. And as in our emotional growth and our spiritual growth work hand in hand, and we can't have one without the other. So um we're all moving, always moving into, some of us a little bit at a slower pace than others, and that's okay. We are where we are in our lives. But as we're growing into these new spaces, allow yourself to be scared. It's okay to be scared, but don't get stuck there. And like Fedesta mentioned before, if you need support, reach out for support, ask somebody, go to, a sacred psychic, someone who specializes in this kind of work. And I will talk about, so Fedesta does coaching and I do spiritual coaching, and Lindsay does Akashic Records. So we're all kind of versed in this in some way. We all work a little bit differently. But certainly find someone who is trustworthy, because there are a lot of people out there who claim to be and they're not. And I wouldn't want anyone to get connected to the wrong person and be told a bunch of BS, because that doesn't work. I kind of feel like I'm getting off on another tangent, but I wanted to kind of reiterate that. But yeah, thank you for that response, or thank the records for that response. Yeah.
They were adding to what you were saying about the fear of expanding, and they were saying, don't be afraid of it. They were almost showing like someone like, up into like the heavens, like receiving all this like, I'm saying like light and just like this information, and then like coming back into earth and kind of growing and getting like this and like going up and almost like sucking it in and then growing here on earth. And it was interesting because it was like, as you were talking about the fear, they were like showing this person as like this balloon, this like big bubble, and then they were like floating around. And with the fear, they were saying, don't be afraid of it. And sometimes what happens is the fear that you're feeling is not yours. It's other people witnessing your expansiveness, and they're projecting it, they're mirroring it, and you think it's your fear. But they're saying like, when you actually feel expansive, you're like big and light and free and full, and oh, it's also good. But then if you talk to someone who's afraid of your expansiveness, you're like, oh, this is scary because it's scaring them, or they're threatened by me, or something like that. And that's what you take in. And then you go, and your balloon deflates. That's what they're saying about what you said. So if you're afraid of your expansiveness, it's not always yours. It could be people's reactions to you expanding.
Right. And if you're confused about the fear being yours or someone else's, ask that question, and ask that question that specifically, and you'll get an answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also wanted to just chime in on the growth piece, because I love that the questions are, what am I responsible for and where can I grow? Those are deeply empowering questions, in my opinion. A mentor of mine recently said the world is run by adaptive children, right? So young wounded people. And that the wise adult in us is very different. That feeling is very different. So when you said grow, I also thought about maturing, right? From our adaptive strategies and the ways that we kind of do things sideways to growing, not just like that beautiful expansion, but also growing up, right? And the expect to be afraid, right? Like I just want to bust a fantasy that all the growth is like fairy dust and unicorns. Like expect fear. Don't be surprised by it, because otherwise you're not really in touch with how expansion works, you know.
Didn't realize I was muted. Do you have a question for Lindsay Foresta?
Yeah, if we feel complete with that question, that was juicy. Knowing that people are feeling pretty threadbare and might not even know how sensitive they're feeling in these times, how can we, I liked how Heidi put it, where can we focus our love? How can we show our love to each other in the new year?
They're saying stop attacking, and they're also saying self-attacking. So stop, it's like stop attacking each other and stop attacking yourself, right? At a certain point, the self-indulgence, you are now attacking yourself. There's a certain point, and I'm getting the sense of everyone saying, oh, I'm so tired of this. I can't handle this. I can't watch the news. I can't. And they're like, okay, so stop. Just turn it off. Do something else. Because what they're saying is like, now you're whining and complaining. And there's a little bit of a tough love in here. And it feels like it's like, there's like kids on a playground, and there's like people getting into fights over here, and one kid, like, there's like all this craziness on the playground. So they're showing us as like, we're a bunch of little kids on a playground. And it's like, okay, recess got out of control. Recess is over. They're kind of going like this. And that's going back to what you were saying about the child. We're in our, is it the strategic child, or what was the, so they're agreeing with that example of what's playing out. So I'm curious if that fully answers your question, or if you have more, you want to ask more.
I love that, because yeah, I do think everyone's in their, strategies. I mean, it's how we handle stress. So it all makes sense. I think because I keep getting these neon lights on like fierce love. What is fierce love? And how do we show that to each other? Right? Like how do we deliver fierce love to each other in the new year?
How can we deliver fierce love to each other in the new year? So they're saying first, the hardest part, they're saying more than ever, we have to stop attacking ourselves. And that's the self-nurturing, the self-care, the self-love, the boundaries with yourself. Okay, this doesn't work. I'm not doing this anymore, because I'm just getting the first step is here at home within you individually. And only then can you inspire. And I'm almost getting like this, it's a magnetic, it's a frequency that comes off of you. So they're kind of saying, they're kind of like, yeah. Everyone's talking. And they're kind of like, actually, like that level of fierce love is felt. It's actually not expressible through words. So if you have that fierce love for you fully, and then you fully fiercely love your partners, your friends, your family, your whole unit becomes this magnetic frequency of fierce love. And they're saying the words don't even have to be spoken. It's almost like you just kind of like roll around in the world. You go to a place with your peoples, and it's just felt. They're really saying it's a felt experience. Fierce love is a felt experience, and the feeling is more powerful than any words they're saying come up with.
That is so beautiful.
Mm.
Thank you. I remember watching a movie recently, and it's like neighbors who bring like a warm, yummy casserole to another neighbor. And I'm like, how do we do this in the digital age? Like, what's our warm, yummy casserole at each
Right.
other's doorsteps, right?
Yeah.
They're adding on to what you said in agreement, and they're actually saying like it's felt, and also your actions speak louder than words. So it is that, you're bringing the warmth and the love of a home cooked meal to a neighbor. That speaks volumes. Those words don't need to necessarily be spoken in depth.
So I just wanted to add that as you were sharing all that, the words that came up for me are the energy of the tentacles. Like it radiates. Everything has a ripple effect. And so I often see, for me, the visual that comes up is that of an octopus. And not only the tentacles of the octopus, but also there are hundreds of suction cups underneath the tentacles of an octopus. Octopus is an amazing animal. And so the things, everything that it comes into contact with and then feels in its suction cup, in the tentacles, it's just incredible. Like I'm going, oh my God, like imagine that amount of love, right? Like imagine feeling that love for yourself, and then knowing, just without doing anything, but knowing that that love is radiating out into the world. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. Yeah.
I'm hearing like fierce love being so nurturing, right? We come back to nurturing. Can we nurture?
Yeah.
They were showing like the very end of a tentacle, almost like a finger point, like this. They were showing just that part touching the water, the surface of the water, and that having a ripple effect of a concentric circle. So they're actually saying like it doesn't even have to take the whole octopus at all, just the tiny little touch, a tiny little touch in the water. Woo!
Lindsay, when you said the word unit, just having parents in the military, like this feeling tone came up for me, is like how well you take care of your unit, so that you are not just tight, but like synergistic and adaptive and intuitive, like the depth of connection of a unit in order to survive. And I like to bring it, up into the frequency of thriving, right? So it just gives me this feeling of like, oh, tend to your unit. Like that is a sacred effort and labor to make sure that that unit is really shining bright, right?
Yeah. So unit military soldiers, and they're saying love warriors. And they're showing like small little units all over the world, like small little units, like very diverse, coming together in like a really big way. There's something about small units and the impact of all these. I'm just getting like hope and faith that there are a lot of small units that are having like a really big ripple effect, a really big impact. Yeah.
You two are definitely a part of my very small unit that I really just feel really grateful for in these times,
Mhm.
you know. Yeah.
Same.
Heidi, do you have any questions? Or Lindsay, did you have a question to bring into the convo?
I don't know what to ask. Maybe in sitting in this space where I'm like in it and I'm so close to it. It's, let me see. I like to always end with what's the most important message we need to know. That's always a nice general closing message.
Okay.
So what's the most important message that the collective of humanity needs to know at this time? There's a rainbow on the other side. There's a rainbow on the other side, and they're saying abundance. And it's interesting because they're kind of saying the long term, like they're showing like almost like a timeline. This time, dark, rainy, shadowy, stormy, da 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 da. It's like this small. And then from here to there is like a huge rainbow. So I think they're trying to let us know that this time frame, what's going on is shorter, and what's on the other side is beautiful. Yeah.
It sounds like we're so close.
They're
Like
saying it's up to you.
we're so close, and it's all up to the individual in how we get there and how soon we get there, how quickly we get there, what we choose, like how we choose our own work. Like what are we going to do to ourselves, to open our hearts, to open our hearts to other people, to ourselves. Everything we talked about today. Yeah.
Mhm,
So
mhm,
beautiful.
mhm,
Yeah, I'm also hearing like being able to ask empowering questions even when we're disempowered, right? The
mhm,
why me, or this is like, why is this happening? Just there's certain questions we can gravitate towards that are like, how's this growing me? How's this actually serving me? Even though it's a total shit sandwich, whatever it is, right?
mhm,
Not diminishing the tough part of it, but like letting the storms grow you.
mhm, mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Lord knows we could all use that rainbow. So
Mhm. Yeah, that's nice to see. So
Mm,
should I close the records on that note with
yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
I would like to thank the masters, teachers, and loved ones for their love and compassion. I would like to thank the Lords of the Akashic Records for their point of view, and I would like to thank the Holy Spirit of Light for all knowledge and healing. The records are now closed. Amen. The records are now closed. Amen. The records are now closed. Amen.
Amen.
mm, thank you so much for
Thanks, Lindsay.
Thank
just
you. Thank you.
bringing your gifts, letting us be witness to some really important guidance as the year starts.
Mhm. Feels
Yeah, curious how we want to close our call
I
today.
think this is a great place to end the call. Yeah. Yeah, this was just lovely. Beyond, not that I go into this with any expectation, because I don't. Um, but it's certainly beyond anything I could have imagined for the end of the year. Thank you both for being here. Thank you, Floresta, for being my podcast partner, for
Mm,
creating this together, and yeah, and for the trust and love that you two hold for me, and that I allow myself to hold for myself and for you. Yeah, I'm just honored. It's truly an honor.
I just so love how we support each other.
Mhm.
We just constantly feel cared for and considered, and then able to serve. And like it just, how much what we've fostered as friends helps me serve in the world. Like it's all connected. So
Mhm.
thank you, because it
Mm.
ripples way beyond me. Getting to be a recipient of both of your hearts and your love and your care,
Mhm.
it does ripple.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you for being in my life this past year in such a big way. You guys are amazing. I am eternally grateful
Mhm.
for us finding each other and bonding the way that we have and supporting each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and may everyone watching be blessed to find their peeps and find their nurture and their support
Yeah.
and their own deep, sweet knowing about what's right for them. I
Mhm.
think it's really vital that we each get to choose what's best for us and to know that that can change.
Yeah.
So, all of that is kind of a creative process, this whole living
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, everyone, and Happy New Year, and here's to 2022. Much love.